So I'm going to go over the flag history for Hawaii because, a lot of times it's important to know if you want to know where you're going, you need to know where you're coming from. Okay. And it's always good to every once in a while understand, flags are great symbolisms of history and where we're at today. And it's good to know, like, how did these flags come about? And the reason why I want to kind of mention it now, because obviously today I'm going to be going up, getting on a flight at 12:22 today to go over to the Big Island. Sam, I'm only going to be on the Hilo side, so if you want to come visit with me, you can come up to the to where they're blocking the road up on Mauna Kea. But so me and my three sisters, Michelle, Kathy, and Tina, a couple of weeks ago, it's like, hey, you guys like go Mauna Kea? It's like, let's go. And I've had friends go to Mauna Kea like years ago, because this has been going on for 10 years, this protest with the 30-meter telescope over there. But I was kind of like, maybe what you guys thinking now of me? I was like, well, what's going on with all this? These crazy Hawaiians, what's going on? Well, I figured I'd cover it with you because it has to do with our what we do as realtors. Somebody tell me, what's the Hawaiian word for what we're selling? What is it called? Anybody?
Lally?
What's that?
Lally?
Aina.
Aina. Well, you know what? You're both right, because the hale is the house that sits on top of the aina. But that's what we're going to talk today. So the Hawaiian words, here's your words for today. Hale means house, and aina means land. So we're going to talk about that. And flags are symbolisms of land. When what does the United States have? It has a flag. And what does every state have? It has a flag. So I'm going to take you through a little bit about the aina, which is and I've covered this before, but it's relevant for today, especially with what we do, because sometimes we're going to be selling Hawaiian homes. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Hawaiian homes, a little bit about the flag, and then share with you with what I've researched and found out about what's going on with the telescope versus Mauna Kea supporters. Okay, so our state motto. Anybody want to take a crack at and know what is our state motto? Anybody got it memorized? That would be, I know you're like, oh, I got it, but I don't want to mess it up, and I know some of it. Well, here it is. And let's see here. Anybody want to read our state motto? Sam, since you're stationary, read our state motto, since I'm coming over there to the island.
Man, I'm gonna butcher this.
That's okay.
Ua mau ke ia o kai aina akapono.
Ikapono. So that is our state motto. It's on the state seal. It's down at the Capitol. I think it's also on. I think it might be on a lot of the uniforms for the sheriffs and HPD and stuff like that. But it's Umau Keia Okaina Kapono. And what it translates into is the life of the land is perpetuated in righteousness. And if you think about it, we as realtors, we're participating in that every day, because are we selling land? Is that how we make a living and feed our family? And I'll tell you this right now, if you act in a righteous manner when serving your clients, guess what? You're going to be busy. You're going to be busy. So there's, I'm going backwards in time and bringing our history into the forefront of our modern day consciousness. All right, here we go. So the Great Mahele, if this did not occur, none of you we wouldn't be doing anything right now, because this had to do with the land back in 1848. If anything, we would just be advisors to the royal family, because they would own every square inch of all the islands in the entire state. So the Great Mahele, basically, what it did was it took land ownership from the kings, and the monarchy decided at this time to start handing over land ownership to the commoners, because at that time it was the monarchy, the royalty, and then you had the konahiki, which were they were like the kind of the sub chiefs that were in charge of all the different land. And then below them, you had the commoners that, made the canoes and raised all the food and stuff like that. So the Great Mahele said, hey, you know what? We're gonna adopt some of that Western type of land ownership and make this land available to the commoners. And then it was called the Kuleana Act, and basically all land was set aside for the commoners, and all you had to do is come down and claim it. A little bit challenging situation on that time, because does anybody know Hawaiian culture back in the day? Did we have written history, or was it oral? Anybody want to take a guess?
It was all
Oral.
spoken, oral.
It was an oral. Our culture was based on an oral history. We did not have written documents. We had petroglyphs, we had images, but there was no written Hawaiian language. Any Hawaiian language that you see today is a translation of the oral language that we had translated into English letters and consonants. That's what you're seeing as the Hawaiian language of today. And so the Kuleana, so the challenge we had was that as Hawaiians, we couldn't read or write. And so a lot of times we would sign like an X and stuff like that. And then when you're going to dispute things like land, you're like, oh, who's this with the X? And it was a new kind of understanding of how land was owned. We didn't own land. We all worked more kind of like in a communal environment, almost an ideal of what modern society is looking for, where everybody gets along and everybody's treated equal. Isn't it ironic? We're all going back to what our original Hawaiians were the original culture here in the state of Hawaii, and they were the original recyclers. They were the original, let's all get together and not have issues with each other and get along. Now, granted, we had the kapu system, and if you violated it, they were pretty serious with stuff like that. But anyway, the land back then was divided into ahu pua'as, and if you imagine an island is like a pizza cut into pizza slices. That's how the Hawaiians came up with and decided to not overuse our resources. We divided the pie-shaped valleys all around the islands and throughout the state, and we went from the top of the mountain all the way down to the ocean, because that's typically how the resources were divided. You had your trees, you had your taro fields, you had your fish ponds, and everything all operated together, and it worked great. I think probably over 1,000 years, Hawaiians lived on this island. Did we have mats and containers coming in with toilet paper and everything else? Fast forward to today, I think if Matson shut down, I saw recent calculations, we would probably last for about a week or two, because almost 95, 98% of everything we use in Hawaii is now brought in from the mainland. Interesting. So, so again, the Kuleana Act required them oh, by the way, Kuleana, if you guys are hearing that word now, and we need to take responsibility. By the way, let's see here. Mitzi, what do you accept responsibility for within your family?
Provide for them.
To provide for them. So your Kuleana to your family, your responsibility is to take care of them. Let's see here. Howard, what is your Kuleana to the team, to Team Lally? What's your Kuleana? And Howard said, take care of the listings, while I think Macy's got the phone and he's fumbling for it. You know what, Eva, you're brand new onto the huddle for today. You're brand new. What's your Kuleana to your clients?
Good morning.
Good morning.
To always be responsive and to say what I'm going to do.
Yes.
In a timely manner.
Be accountable.
Absolutely.
The modern day word that we have today is called fiduciary. Fiduciary. We have a fiduciary. It's in our code of ethics. We are actually governed by law to act in a fiduciary manner, always in their best interest, to take responsibility for that. So Kuleana would be the Hawaiian version of that. So again, this is the situation today. So I kind of want to give you the history, when you see what's going on with Hawaiians today. And, I went to Molokai, almost got my butt beat by some locals there, because we were doing some drone footage. They're like, how dare you sell the Aina? And you know what? That's their opinion. Then I got my opinion. But in modern day society, this is what we do. Land is owned by people, whether you're Hawaiian or not. We do have Hawaiian homes. Okay, and let's talk about that real quick. That was originated by the Hawaiian Commissions Act of 1920. And it was actually put aside that way and agreed to by Congress at that time as an apology to the Hawaiians because of the overthrow. We were a sovereign nation here in 1893, and then what happened is local business people, look this up, don't quote me on it just because I'm a little biased because I'm Hawaiian, but they brought in the Marines that were stationed in the harbor at that time to overthrow the monarchy and put into place what was called the Bayonet Constitution. Fast forward today, it was sponsored by Jonah Kohio, Kalani Ana Ole, and what they did was set aside 200 acres. So that is the all across the state. That is what we have as Hawaiian homes today. Some of the Hawaiian homes that you see today, the Kamakanali'i Mall that is in down the street here in Kapolei, that is on Hawaiian Homes, is being leased. Big chunks of Kaka'ako. Kaka'ako is not necessarily Hawaiian Homes, but set aside by Bishop Estates. And that benefits education of Native Hawaiians. Kaka'ako, where all those Ward Village high-rises. Parts of Haleiwa, main Haleiwa has been renovated. That's owned by Bishop Estates. So kind of, not necessarily Hawaiian Homes, but I personally live on Hawaiian Homes. Does anybody know how much Hawaiian you got to be to live on Hawaiian Homes? How much Hawaiian?
50%.
50%.
And if you see the listing and people call about it, the buyer has to be how much?
50%.
50%. And how is that determined? They get on the list, they got to prove their quantum, and that's all governed by the Department of Hawaiian Homelands, which, interestingly enough, for the state of Hawaii, was moved from downtown Honolulu and is located here in Kapolei, right down the street from the mall. Okay, so 50% Hawaiian. I told you I'll talk about the flag. So interesting with our flag history, this is our state flag. And what's in the top left? Does anybody know what that's referred to, the top left? It's called the Union
Glory. Old Glory.
Well, it's called the Union Jack. It actually has British origins. Punk rockers used to wear them a lot back in the day. But the royalty at that time was recognized, not ruled by, but recognized by Queen Victoria as a sovereign nation. The king and queen at that time used to travel all around the world. Some interesting facts about the Iolani Palace. It actually had electricity before the White House, and had one of the first phones in there. But I wasn't sure who the king was calling because he had the first phone. No, he would like maybe go down and say, "Bring me up some poi, man. I'm hungry tonight. I need a midnight snack." But anyway, it was the first telephone system. Very modern at that time, the royalty at that time with the Iolani Palace. Okay. Oh, going back. So the Union Jack is in the top left. Can somebody tell me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 stripes. Does anybody know what the 8 stripes represent?
All the islands? All the islands?
Yes, those are the 8 major islands. So now you have a little bit of, and it was a little bit of a nod and appreciation to the United States because the U.S. flag has very similar. The stars in the white stars in a blue field represent what?
States.
Yeah, I think somebody said if I got cut off, it represents the states. And does anybody remember your U.S. history? What do the 13 stripes represent?
The original colony.
That's it. All right. Now, this is something, some more Hawaiian history there. This is actually the flag that was prior to the flag that we see today. And this flag was flown over on the ship whenever the royalty was aboard. And it's also flown over the palace whenever they were in the palace. So this was the represented, that crest in the middle represents the royal family. And the only reason I mentioned this one right here is because is everybody seeing this on the back of pickup trucks?
Yeah.
In front of people's houses, people are wearing it draped around them. This is not the Brazilian soccer flag. Colors are kind of similar, but this is the flag for the Kanaka Maoli, and this represents now it's being brought forward. The history with this flag is that this was King Kamehameha's flag, and he was actually, the islands were overthrown for a little bit by a British officer, and this flag was actually destroyed and burned. I've been looking up some history. It's controversial because they're saying that that state flag that you see was in existence prior to this flag. So it's kind of back and forth with the history on whether this was King Kamehameha's original flag, but it was known to be back in that time. And the colors, so this middle, the paddles in the middle that you see represent Hawaiians back then. Hawaiians were very intelligent scientists and travelers. Anybody know where the Hawaiians, the Hawaiians came from that lived on Hawaii? Do you know where they came from? What country?
Philippines and Indonesia. Yeah.
No, Howard's saying Philippines and Indonesia. That's why we got to remind you.
Micronesia.
Micronesia? Nope.
Tahiti.
Samoa.
Tahiti.
Tahiti.
Came from Tahiti. We're originally Tahitians. A lot of our language is very similar. We use the letter K. They use more of the pronunciation of the letter T. But Tahiti, so, and if you guys know, Tahiti is hundreds of miles away. There are no like land masses between Tahiti and Hawaii that they could like have stopped on and reprovisioned and got more water. Literally hundreds of miles away. Hawaiians back then, did we have GPS? Do we have satellite navigation? No. So Hawaiians back then were very smart and intelligent explorers and discoverers, and they sailed all the way to back then. And we, for our understanding, is they went back and with multiple times and brought the plants, the coconut trees and things like that to Hawaii. So anyway, the colors represent things. This is the flag, British captain. I talked about that. The different colors on this flag, yellow represents the elite or the royalty at that time, red, the konohiki, and these were the landed caste. They were the ones that would report back to the royalty, and they would run they were assigned each of these ahu pua'as, and they would manage. The green represents the maka'ainana, which is the commoners. So when you're seeing those flags today, basically it's Hawaiians trying to connect with their past culture. You know, when's the last time I went and protested for anything? It's been a while. I've been to share with you a little bit about my history. My mom is 75% Hawaiian. Her father was pure Hawaiian. So my grandfather passed away a couple of years ago. He was pure Hawaiian. They estimate there are fewer than 8,000 pure Hawaiians in the world today. And as obviously as we merge and marry with people, we're not marrying only Hawaiians. We're marrying people that we love, and that person may not be Hawaiian. And then as we go forward in time, there are going to be less and less pure Hawaiians in the world, and less, and that's a concern. I'm barely 50% Hawaiian, and I live on Hawaiian homes. If I pass away, the good news is that what's in place is that my children are 25%. Regardless of who I married, right? If you do the math, they, once they turn 18, can actually inherit my lease. Because people will say, anybody know how long the lease is for Hawaiian homes when you get it?
100 years.
It's 100 years, 99 years. It's $1 a year. It's $100. I went into my coffee can and I paid it all up front. No, they make you pay it all up front. So people are saying, what's going to happen with your lease, Attilio? What's going to happen with your house 100 years from now? Well, I'm 52, so that would make me, I've been on the property 17 years. I don't know, I had 70 years to that, so I would have to be like 120, 130 years old. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to be dead. Hopefully not even my children may be around. It's probably going to be our children's children. But anyway, today I'm getting on the airplane. Why am I getting on that airplane? I've asked my sisters and everybody else. I don't want to be one of those Hawaiians driving around with a pickup truck with the flag sticking out. By the way, the upside down, the reason why we fly the flag with the upside down state flag and upside down, typically that means, it's not necessarily just a protest or a disrespect for that flag, but it says that we are in distress. We have a concern, we have an issue with something, and we're gonna take a stand. And then the Kanaka Mo'oli flag is saying, hey, I'm Hawaiian, and let's take a look at our history and go back in time. Other people and other nations that have done the same have been Gandhi. What did Gandhi do? Anybody know who's Gandhi and what did he do?
He stopped British rule in India.
Yeah, he stopped British rule in India, and that today now they're ruled by their modern culture. Now, am I like, hey, we're gonna go back to living in grass huts, eating poi, keep all the non-Hawaiians off the islands? No. We are gonna move forward, continue to move forward in our modern society. But what you gotta understand, what you gotta have for, and this is what I want you to have as a takeaway. Today, think about it, reflect, put it in your journal. What is your kuleana? What is your responsibility? And I'm not talking about, land and everything else. What is your responsibility? Is your responsibility to pick up that phone and go out there and find some people and help them have a great real estate transaction? Is your kuleana to go out there and prospect and do this thing called real estate in a professional manner so you can generate income to take care of your family? I don't know what it is for you. My kuleana today, I wasn't feeling this 4 years ago when all this started, but today, for some reason, there's a reason why The Rock is going up there. There's a reason why Jason Momoa, Aquaman, is going up there. There's a reason why, I forgot his name, but I don't know if he's the son of, I think he's Bob Marley. By the way, Bob Marley, did you know Bob Marley had an assassination attempt? I watched the documentary. And by the way, he died of skin cancer. He died of melanoma. So please put your sunblock on. That's what got Bob Marley. I think he was in his late 30s. But the reason that he was an assassination attempt is because he was against the rule at that time, which was predominantly non-native to Jamaica, and he was standing up for it. And so anyway, one of the Marleys was up there. Jack Johnson was up there. Whatever. They have their own agendas for being up there. But for me, what I want to come to you and speak to you on Monday. So I'm going to go out there Friday. We rented a minivan, me and my 3 sisters. But I've done a lot of camping with the Boy Scout. My sisters are not campers. So we're going to be staying in one van. It gets down to about 30 degrees at night. And then it's hot as heck in the daytime. And the sun, because we're up at a higher elevation, is super hot. And so we're going to be wearing some sunblock. But we're going to be going there to speak to the people there. Watch some of the YouTube videos. These Hawaiians are not just, facial tattoos and getting all crazy and wacky. And by the way, they've adopted and learned from our history with Gandhi. It's a non-violent civil disobedience is what's happening right there. And so I sent the link out to everybody on the team, but there's a petition that's been signed at that time when I did it 2 or 3 days ago by 178,000 people have signed this petition supporting Mauna Kea. Now, I'm not here to speak to you about, whether it's sacred or, next thing you know, I'm going to be like, Sandy Beach going to be sacred, and we're going to kick everybody off of Sandy Beach. No. What we've decided to do is do what things like Theodore Roosevelt, the president at that time, did you know that he put into the act, the Preservation Land Act, today that we wouldn't have parks like the Golden, Denali in Alaska. Denali is huge. The state of Connecticut would fit inside Denali. And if he did not set those places aside today, they would be all developed. By the way, the latest I understand is that I think in Spain or something like that, they are welcoming and they are totally in alignment to have this 30 millimeter telescope built there. Chile is, my understanding, again, verify all this up, they're building a 39 millimeter telescope. My thoughts are in this, do we have issues with our climate here on this planet, right here? So as we focus our attention with these telescopes into the atmosphere and far, far, far away galaxies, that's awesome. Hawaiians were all for discovery. That's what got them off of Tahiti to come here to this island, and why it's called the state of Hawaii, and why, a lot of the things that existed today. What I'm going there to discover is that we've got to, by the way, this 30 millimeter telescope, the structure for itself will be 18 stories tall and take over 5 acres up on a place that's considered very sacred by Hawaiians. If you take Mauna Kea from the bottom of the ocean to the top of the top, it is the tallest mountain on the planet Earth. So I don't know what that means. Maybe there's some significance there. But if we don't start preserving places like this, what are we going to have left? So that's what I'm going to go there today. I'm not going to go over there with an M16 and, put on one Hawaiian mask over my face and doing any of that. No, I'm going over there to understand and learn and to interview people and to speak to them, take notes, to journal, and find out what's going on, not knowing that my knowledge is coming from some spin based on whatever's on the media or YouTube or anything like that. I'm going to go there and witness things with my own eyes, with my own ears, and find out what's going on with Mauna Kea. And why am I going to Mauna Kea? I'll leave you with this. Because as a Hawaiian, I want to understand my culture and our past. But do I want to go back to living in that way of those ancient times? No. I am a modern day man that is a Hawaiian, understanding my Hawaiian culture. But what I want to do is go there and understand it and bring it forward to our modern day consciousness and understand what does that mean for me as a Hawaiian and what's going on Mauna Kea. Do you guys agree? Yes or yes? If we don't stand for some things every once in a while, we stand for nothing. Is that true? So find out what you're gonna, figure out what is your kuleana, what are you gonna stand for today. Sam, what's your big takeaway from today? What, if anything?
Well, I'll tell you what, if you want to become a celebrity up there, bring some solar hot water heaters. You know those camping ones that you hang from like a pipe or something?
Yeah.
Because they can't shower up there and it's really dusty in the middle of the day. I'm really good friends with Kohokai Kanuha. He's one of the leaders up there, and that's what he said. I actually paddle with the guy, and I would totally meet you up there this weekend, but we're all flying to Kauai for the state regatta championships this weekend.
Oh, that's okay. And you know what? And what is those regattas about? Canoe. What's canoe is about? It's about
Hawaiian culture. Hawaii's only sport.
And I'll tell you, there are canoe clubs all around the world. They're in Japan, they're in Australia, New Zealand. So the Hawaiian culture, something that's been significant all around the world, surfing. Hawaiians are credited with surfing that is everywhere now. Tukanamoku, he was he won the gold medal in swimming in the Olympics. So Hawaiians have it's what I'm saying today is that we as Hawaiians and Hawaiian culture is we're dropping a pebble into the consciousness of today, and that pebble is rippling out. So I'm going to go find out and go back to the source of Mauna Kea. Laura, take away, and then maybe Mitzi. Laura.
You know what? Yeah, one of my favorite things that you said was that you are going to go there with an open mind. You're going to talk to people. You're going to learn different perspectives. And, you're not going there with your mind already made up. You know how you feel in your heart, but you still want to go and get input and perspective from other people. And I think that's incredibly important nowadays, whatever your viewpoint is on politics or any hot button issue nowadays.
Yeah. Anybody else? Mitzi.
So the flag, when I saw this guy, putting a flag on the back of the truck and it was upside down, I thought it was being disrespectful and things like that. So this is a big aha for me that it's actually not that. There's a significance to that, and it's great in our history too.
Yeah, and you'll see this too. Flags have a lot of symbol behind them. When we fly them at half mast, that means that we're showing respect for somebody that may have been killed or something like that, or somebody that's passed away. All state flags, any flag when it's flown in the upside down position, especially from a ship at sea, means that ship is in distress, and that we're saying we need your help. And so that's what the Hawaiians are doing today, is they're saying we need your help. What else? Anybody else? Okay. Well, like I said before, do some self-reflection today and find out what is your kuleana, what is your responsibility, what are you going to take a stand for today? Not saying everybody go down and start picketing everywhere and, like Safeway, man, that milk is too expensive. No, with those expensive milk. No. It's figure out what something is and going out there. When enough people make small changes and we combine and gather together, that's when big changes are happening. And I will tell you, if we don't preserve these places and take a stand, I watched Blue Planet on Netflix. Interesting in the beginning, more climate change. I'm 52 years old. More climate change has occurred on this planet Earth. And this is not about emotions and whether you're a tree hugger. This is scientific fact. More changes have occurred to our climate here on this planet in the last 50 years than the entire existence of human beings. If we take a look at the ice pack on the top of the planet, which reflects heat back into the atmosphere and helps us regulate global temperatures, it's being reduced by almost a third. And it's usually it comes and it goes. So take a look at that. What's going on our planet? And this is reversible. But if we don't stop and start preserving pieces of this planet and not developing every square inch of it, we are going to be in trouble, and we're going to get to a tipping point where no matter what we do, we cannot turn back. So that's what I feel is galvanizing and gathering people together. It's Mauna Kea. It's not about a telescope for me personally. It's not about it being a sacred place. It's about people coming together and saying, yeah, think that the law is on their side. But as I listened to one of the speakers 2 days ago in Hawaiian and very articulate in English, he said this, it's not necessarily about doing what's legally right, but about what's doing right. And sometimes it comes in conflict. What we got to do that's right will come in conflict with what the law has stated, what people have permits for. And that's what I'm going to go find out. What's going on here? Why are so many people coming to Mauna Kea from all over the world, all over the state, and going there? You know, I've never been in this position before, but I felt a calling in my heart as a Hawaiian, and as somebody that's intelligent, open-minded, you know, articulate, you know, and wants to go there. And so I will report back to you guys on Monday. Please think about over the weekend. What are you going to take responsibility for? Because if we don't, we're going to be in serious trouble as a society, as humans, and as a planet. Aloha.